We will get to the microscopic dissection of the end of regulation in Spain. A truly dreadful beginning to my Sunday. Just horrific football being played by both of those teams as Zaslow and Cody genuinely disagree about what Mike McDaniel did. Obviously, two bad football teams. How do I know? Because on 4th and short, one gets a delay of game and has to kick a field goal. And on 4th and short, another one, when it's going for it, gets a false start. And I'm like, get out of here. Yep. Send it to Spain and stay there. Just don't come back. Don't take the flight back. The best play of that game was Mariota avoiding a safety. That's the best play. That was the best play in that football game. But because we love to dissect what the coaches do, I want to examine Zaslow and Greg Cody's disagreement here, because what Mike McDaniel did in a tie game at the end of regulation, going for it, 4th and goal instead of kicking the field goal, which is basically what every coach would have done that we've ever watched, would have kicked the field goal. Only two since 2000 have ever done what McDaniel did. McDaniel was the second. So in 25 years, McDaniel is the first to go for it in that situation. Cody says, I don't care what the analytics say. The analytics say you get a 3.5 better percentage chance to win the game by going for the touchdown there. Because even if you fail, you're leaving them at the 1-yard line with no timeouts. It's going to be very difficult for them to get out of that situation. But the mathematics say that. The thing that I wanted to ask you guys, though, about it, because I thought the announcers were really bad at the end of that game. Really bad. First of all, they didn't talk about Achane going out of bounds at the 6-yard line, which he should not have done. Like, Achane has to stay in bounds there. Has to.
That was what was going to cost them the game.
No, but he has to know the game situation there. The announcers don't even mention it. He gets the first down. The announcers don't even mention it. But the announcers also have to know, in the modern age, that's a good assignment to get the Madrid game. A lot of money being spent to send everybody to Madrid. Those people need to know that the percentage of chance going for it is better at 3.5%. They need to tell the audience to make everyone back off. It can't just be anymore some offensive lineman in the booth saying, I think I'd show guts here and go for it. Give me what the math is.
Well, and also give me what the trend is, which is that he's only the second guy in 25 years to take that risk, that unnecessary risk.
You need the researchers to give you that information. It's why they're there. It's why they're flown to Madrid.
Well, I don't know if you could have gotten that stat right there in that spot, that it's just the second time in 25 years. But certainly the former, the percentages going forward kicking, that they probably should have had.
McDaniel knows what the percentages are. He's playing the percentages. He is a math guy. That he is absolutely doing there what is the correct play.
But it's not just the percentages there. It's, all right, and this is why I believe McDaniel made the right move, where the game is different than what it was 10 years ago. I've been talking about this recently here, where the kickers are so good these days that it's taken a lot of the excitement out of the game, where team gets the ball, a minute to go. Can they drive and get to field goal range? Well, yeah, they can. Because these guys are kicking 60-yard field goals, and it takes away a lot of the excitement. It's just 2 plays, and he's in field goal range. That's essentially what Mike McDaniel was considering yesterday. If he kicks the field goal there, and it was just under 2 minutes left, which is an eternity now in today's NFL, and the Dolphins go up 3, kick off, you get the ball at the 30, you're 30 yards away. You're 30 yards away from tying it.
Let me ask you this question, Greg, because I really do like, the advancements in football that make these coaches less coward, more math. I like what it is when I'm on offense, almost absolutely, with very few exceptions. If I'm on offense on 4th and 2, I almost always want to go for that. And if I'm the defense, I almost always want the kicker on the field in that situation. If I'm a fan of the defensive team and the other team has the ball on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, I always want them to send if I'm on defense, I always want them to send the kicker out on the field, because 1 and 2 yards, they're so precise now that they just take a tight end and they do a little play action and they just throw one of these rollout passes with such accuracy. I know a couple of 4th and shorts got stopped yesterday. I know the Lions were terrible on 4th and short. That's the best defensive game I've seen the Eagles play during the championship run. That's the worst Lions offensive game I've seen throughout their season being being good. So I know when a team fails on 4th and short, it always brings this criticism. But would you agree with me that if you're a fan of the defensive team, you always want to see the kicker run out onto the field on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2?
What I agree with is that 4th and 2 means go for it most of the time, situationally, most of the time. If my own team, it's the middle of the second quarter, my team is 4th and 2 from its own 42, I'm like, yeah, go for it. In this case, you take the 3-point lead, and here's why. I don't know if you guys have noticed, Miami's defense has been pretty good the last 3 or 4 games. Pretty damn good, as it was in Madrid. If you're Mike McDaniel, you give your team a 16-13 lead, less than 2 minutes left, other team has no timeouts, and you trust your defense to not let them drive 70, 60 yards for a tying field goal. I trust my defense.
It's not
No,
60
but it wouldn't
yards.
have been,
It's
30
yards.
yards.
It's
25
Why
yards.
would you trust that defense?
The Dolphins' defense has been pretty good the last few games.
No, but your argument there, trust them to not allow 60 or 70 yards, is literally what Mike McDaniel did by saying, if we don't get a touchdown here, I trust my defense not to give up 60 yards and a potential game-tying kick. Now, the irony is that is exactly what happened. They ended up missing the kick. But, like, your argument there is literally what Mike McDaniel was banking on.
You would agree that the Dolphins got lucky with that pick on the first play of
It's a
overtime.
play. They made a play.
Okay, Mariota had a good game. He made his only bad play of the game to begin overtime. That's luck that bailed out
Or he
Mike
was due.
McDaniel.
I mean, by that logic.
Would you also agree that if the Dolphins end up losing that game in OT, Mike McDaniel is being vilified this morning?
Well, that I'd agree.
nationwide?
That I'd agreed with. But fans are noisy, and they are.
I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about everybody.
They're math averse.
Greg, the thing is, every interception, every fumble, every turnover is luck, right? Just depending on if the ball's bobbled up this way, if you cut off the pass that way, if you get a hand on the football. Like, turnovers are lucky in just the general sense.
Yeah, but this is a Dolphin defense that has had like 3 interceptions all season. I mean, you don't expect that, especially out of Jack Jones, who would not be a starting cornerback on any team in the league.
Well, that's
but
another
made a
thing.
play.
There are so many players on that field because all of these teams are broken. There's so many players on that field at this point in the season that are just practice squad elevations that happen to be wearing professional uniforms.
Yeah, that's not a real player. I mean, if you don't mind, I'd like to move away from the microanalyzation of Commanders Dolphins and talk about like the more interesting stuff, which is like Stephen Ross talking about. Well, the reports are Stephen Ross is looking for reasons to bring back Tua and Mike McDaniel, and you have a team that's fighting for a head coach. We thought this team was done and dusted, and yet you still don't want this quarterback speaking in front of a microphone. That stuff.
Why? Does he say weird things?
He says weird things.
All right, let's play the sound of him saying that. Good Lord Jesus, he wants to play.
Well, that's what it's about.
That's the joke I was making. He wants to play in Jerusalem.
It's not just that.
It's a weird thing to say.
He was asked about international series, and he's like, let's go to Hawaii.
He was asked, where else should the league take games?
Well, I think he said where else in Europe, right?
Watch, I'll go. He's just asked in general. It's like a blanket statement, but then he specifies because he says something like, let's listen.
Hawaii. So the United States again, but just go play in Hawaii. I think that'd be pretty cool. But in Europe, shoot, it'd be pretty cool to go play in Jerusalem.
Not in Europe.
I don't know. That'd be sick.
Anyway, the Dolphins have the following situation. I actually understand. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but when you talk about what they're doing for next season, given the contract situation of their quarterback and given that this draft doesn't have a surefire quarterback that you want to lose for, I understand putting a bandage on it for a year and saying, McDaniel, Tua, let's see if Tyreek Hill can get some value back, and putting a bandage on it for a year because you don't actually want the leadership void of let's blow the entire thing up and start over from ground zero.
That was a good answer, though. I mean, wasn't at all worried about his brain whatsoever, hearing him speak like that and smile like that. His teeth do look great.
Zaslow is done with the unwatchability of Tua.
Dan, he's unwatchable.
The number of screen passes, the number of throw the ball backwards.
It sounds like you guys watched. I didn't, because it was Commanders Dolphins, and I've seen this Dolphin team the entire time. I just kind of want to move this thing along here. I'm a little annoyed that they won, because now you're like, oh, should we or shouldn't we? Some people, Stephen Ross being one of them. Just come on, let's get this thing over
He
with.
got chased down by like a 350-pound lineman.
When he was all by himself, just throw the ball away. Dude. Here's the thing with Tua. I've never seen a more immobile quarterback. And my entire childhood was Dan Marino. Like Marino, at least he'll step up into the pocket.
Yeah,
he
he had a
avoids
quick step.
He avoids the sack. I mean, Marino was a statue there. Marino is more mobile than Tua was. And with Tua now,
Marino, after the Achilles tear, you have Marino being
looking
more
like
mobile
in
than
the big
Tua.
boot.
Oh, the Nike Town boot.
wearing the entire leg brace. All right, looking like a robot. Marino was more mobile than Tua is. Tua now, if there's any kind of pressure coming on a play, if Tua does not find a receiver on his very first and immediate read, the play is completely screwed. He has no awareness in the pocket. He has zero ability to escape anyone, and he has zero improvisational skills. He is brutal. The fact that if a quarterback does not hit their very first option on a play, and that's what meaning that the play's screwed if he doesn't, and that's what you're relying on to win you games, it's impossible.
That was the issue with the Mike McDaniel offense, right? It was like, oh, this offense is amazing. They're scoring all these points. Everything is so fast. But they're like, oh, what if we just take away the first read? And then they just develop, oh, wait a second. Tua can't scan the field. He's too worried about getting hit.
He can't
He's
just
too worried
scan
about a muddy
anything.
pocket.
Well, wait a minute, okay? I will say that when they were at their healthiest and speediest, he was going 1, 2, 3 through the reads. What's happening now with Waddle as the only option, okay? An assortment of tight ends you've never heard of and don't want on the field. With Waddle as the only option, what it is Waddle's my first read. I don't want to go to Washington, any Washington. I'm going check down. I'm going immediately check down. I'm going to the bubble screen. But since you mentioned Dan Marino, and I can't believe that Zaz is saying that Tua is less mobile than Dan Marino.
Can't believe I'm right.
I can't believe that you're saying he's less mobile than Bernie Kosar. Bernie Kosar now. I can't believe that you're saying that Tua is lacking that kind of mobility. I think it's an exaggeration. But when you talk about Dan Marino, they brought him out in Madrid. And
Oh, did they?
He has some trouble with the chant. Chris Cody is alleging that Dan Marino has never done or heard a simple "Let's go Dolphins." Let's go Dolphins. Let's go Dolphins. Let's go Dolphins.
Good on the crowd. They stayed with him, but it's just so
The
awkward.
ones who weren't booing.
Kind of like when he did the drum at the Panther. He's just odd.
Well, he's bad in public.
He does not lead the league in public appearances. There was a shot of him next to Zach Thomas doing the whole ceremonial coin flip thing. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere on the face
Probably
of
a
the
couple
earth
shots.
besides where he was.
You guys are saying the crowd was good. That's a crowd that doesn't speak English.
And that's just the fans that travel.
Maybe he figures the "Let's Go Dolphins" chant is kind of outdated. He's trying to switch it up a little bit.
That feels
That's
a bit,
triggering.
That feels a bit death metal-y.
Like haunting.
It is.
Like in my dreams, I'm like, where is he?
No,
Where's Dan Marino? I smell him though.
It does give me a little bit of anxiety hearing him do that because that's not the way that it's supposed to go. And it reminded me of another South Florida legend trying to do a chant that left me feeling some type of way. Bobby. Bobby.
That's Barkov trying to celebrate Bobrovsky.
Bobby.
All right, pair them together. Let's see who's worse.
What's wrong with people, Dan?
Haunting is a good.
Dan, think about this for a second. Okay, you're at the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's dark. All of a sudden, this echoes from the pirate ship.
That's going to be
It
pillaging.
does
The
sound like
fog
pirates.
rolls in. You're like, where am
That's a
I?
great astute observation.
That is absolutely in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein behind the ship when he's coming out of the sea.
Taunting.
It is frightening.
Bobby.
Victor!
Bobby.
Victor!
Bobby.
See, Barkov's is not haunting. Barkov's makes me happy. It's playful.
Bobby.
It's the way that you're in a bounce house with children and you chase them around.
Bobby. Bobby.
What's wrong with these guys, man? At least Barkov, this is not his first language.
Bobby.
I mean, if you've heard Dan Marino in front of microphones, like, it wouldn't feel like his first language. One of the great surprises of my entire lifetime is as long as Dan Marino lasted on that CBS pregame show, because they hired him in the first place, and he spent how many years doing that, because he was always notoriously bad talking in front of people, hated doing it, and was boring on purpose.
And yet he was a great quarterback, so we never criticized that, where we're criticized Tua about everything, so we criticize him for everything, for mentioning Jesus, for making jokes that don't work, for not being as glib and as eloquent as we want.
No one here is criticizing him for mentioning Jesus.
Where'd that come from?
We were criticizing him for putting Jerusalem in putting a football game in Jerusalem and in Europe. That's what.
Let me just
Hawaii
say,
as well.
I need to defend Tua here. Okay, I'm the only one who's going to do it.
Feel free to do so in front of the microphone.
I hate to always be the VOR, but if you're looking for reasons to criticize Tua after yesterday's game, you're looking for reasons to criticize Tua. He's been pretty terrible this year. Led the league in interceptions with 13. He had a clean game. He played an efficient game. You know what he recognized? You know what the game plan recognized? Devon Achane is the best player on the field other than Jordan Brooks on defense, who had 20 tackles. Another reason why you trust your defense with a 16-13 lead late in the game.
Greg, I don't trust that defense. Like, I really don't understand what you're doing with that defense. That defense has not been trustworthy. Like, you can say they've been decent the last few games, but that's not a trustworthy defense. And what Zaslow's saying late in that game, you have noticed this change, right, with the kickoffs. If they start at their 35-yard line, they get one first down, all of a sudden you're kicking a 57-yard field goal, because every game in the sport, every game in the sport has a 57-yard field goal. I've got one of the strangest things to watch in football in terms of the evolution is the number of teams that get inside of 60 yards and then just hand the ball off up the middle because they feel good about where they are on the field inside of a 60-yard field goal. Even if that is something in my lifetime. Anything beyond 50 yards in my lifetime outside of the last 5 years has been a field goal that you don't want to be taking. Now it's a totally normal thing for kickers all over the league to be making 50-yard field goals.
Yeah, you know who's behind me in advocating my opinion? 99.9% of all NFL head coaches over the last quarter century. There's just no excuse.
No, but the game's changed over 25 years.
The game is no different than it was 3 years ago or 5 years ago.
But then don't use a 25 years as
No, but
your
Greg,
number.
it is different. I gave the stat last week that the Bears and Giants went for it on fourth down 5 times in the first half. It's totally different.
It's totally different.
All of these teams are going for it all over the place on fourth and short. Nobody anymore doesn't go for it on fourth and short. There's not a coach in the league that you think of as Dave Wanstead, notoriously scared on fourth and short.
I agree, but again, you have to think situationally. One of the exceptions is fourth on a long 2. When you have you have a 1-foot putt for what should be a winning field goal. You take those points in a game where points are tough to come by.
By the way, when we're talking about trusting your defense in that spot, give them a 3-point lead, trust the defense at the end. They didn't get the conversion, and the defense then literally allowed 60 yards with the opportunity to kick the game-winning field goal. Like, you want them to trust the defense there, and the defense gave it up, like, in a major way. Now,